Hey, Smile Trainers, how you doing? Brian Cain, your peak performance coach here, and thanks for joining me on this Ironman Mindset webinar, where I'm going to share with you 10 tips from an Ironman mental conditioning coach and an Ironman finisher. But first, let me share a little visualization with you. I want you to imagine that you're at the Olympics and you see Michael Phelps, maybe the greatest Olympic athlete and greatest swimmer of all time. You see Michael Jordan, an Olympic medalist, and maybe the greatest basketball player of all time. Now, what is it that Michael Jordan and Michael Phelps have in common? Well, other than just tremendous talent and a really long wingspan, them and every other athlete in those Olympic Games, what do they have in common? That's right, they have a coach. They've probably got a nutrition coach like you do. They probably have a skill set coach like you do. And I want to be the mental conditioning coach for you to make sure that your mindset is on point as your swim will be, as your bike will be, and as your run will be when you go to do your Ironman. I had the privilege of doing Ironman Arizona in November of 2016 as a part of the Smile Train, and I can tell you that it was one of the most impactful events of my entire life. To be able to be a part of something bigger than yourself to help a great cause was enough fuel, enough juice, enough energy to really look back and say the Ironman was really the easy part. And to help make the Ironman more enjoyable, to help make and ease a little bit of the stress for you going into that great event, I want to share with you 10 tips that I personally used myself when doing Ironman Arizona, and I'm preparing to use in my next Ironman, which will be Ironman Texas, coming up here in about 4 weeks exactly. And I'm going to talk about 10 Ironman tips from a mental game standpoint that I've shared with triathletes, Major League Baseball players, NFL football players, Ultimate Fighting Championship world champions, and athletes in every sport that I know will help you. So what you should have in front of you as we get going on this call is you should have this notes sheet that I want you to fill in as we talk. And please, if you haven't already, head over to briancain.com/smiletrain. Let me show you what that's going to look like. If you go over to briancain.com/smiletrain, and I'm going to share my screen here with you so you can see this, you're going to get a free copy of my ebook on the 12 Pillars of Peak Performance, what I share with all the athletes I work with. And you're going to get to see a video documentary that I made of my experience with the Smile Train and going through Ironman Arizona. It's really kind of a fun little look when you're riding on the bike. Maybe watch it on your phone if you're on a stationary on a treadmill. And I think it'll be fun for you to see me in that journey, as I'm sure you can relate to a lot of what I've went through there. So briancain.com/smiletrain. Check it out. Now let's get into our webinar and the 10 tips from an Ironman mental conditioning coach and an Ironman finisher. Number one is I believe you have to know your why. You've got to know your why that you're doing your Ironman. There's going to be a point in the race, multiple points in the race, where you're going to ask yourself, why am I doing this? And you've got to know. It may be you're doing this to provide surgeries for children born with cleft lip and cleft palate so you can make a difference. There may be also other reasons why you're doing it. Maybe there's a personal reason for you doing it and seeing if you can endure what is maybe one of the hardest races in the world of the Ironman. I know for me, my why started back in 2006. I was at a leadership conference with some students from a high school. I was working as an athletic director in the state of Vermont. And when we went to this conference, one of the speakers showed a video of the Ironman. And he showed the team of Dick and Ricky Hoyt. Now, if you're not familiar with the team of Dick and Rick Hoyt, you've got to simply go over to YouTube and type in Team Hoyt, H-O-Y-T. Well, the father, Dick Hoyt, takes his son, Rick Hoyt, and carries him in a boat while he does the swim, pushes him on the bike as Rick sits in the front of the bike for 112 miles, and then pushes him in a wheelchair for the 26.2-mile race. It's a father and son team that do the Ironman together. And I remember sitting there bawling, watching that video about the story of human commitment. And I said to myself, man, that's something I got to do. I want to do an Ironman. And I sat on it for 10 years until I'm not sure how I came across it. I actually don't even remember how I came across the Smile Train. It might be, I think, one of the athletes that I had worked with at Yale University was talking about the Smile Train, and somehow I think I came across it. And next thing you know, in August of 2016, I signed up to do the Ironman Arizona as a part of the Smile Train. So there was the motivation for me. The why was to try to challenge myself like Dick and Ricky Hoyt would do. You've got to see that video if you're not familiar. The other why was to help provide surgeries. I thought I had a pretty good platform on social media and a pretty good platform to be able to fundraise and provide an opportunity for many surgeries for the children of the Smile Train. And part of my why also during the race was on my handlebars. I had a picture, a before and after picture of a young man that had had a surgery courtesy of the Smile Train. I would look down, I would look at that on my handlebars, and that would remind me of why I was doing what I was doing. So you've got to know your why. That's number one. Number two is control what you can control. There's going to be a lot of things that happen on race day that you can't control. Weather, might rain, might be really hot. Your bike equipment getting hit in the water. You're going to get hit in the water. And if you haven't done an open water swim yet, make sure you please do before you get into the water at the race that you're doing. And if you're even racing with one other person, my suggestion would be at least once race with them and have them hit you a little bit. Not, punch or kick you, but bang into each other. I mean, I almost got my goggles knocked off when I was in Arizona. That would have been a different race. But being able to, get some contact or some friction in training, which we don't always do. I'll swim with 2 or 3 people in a swim lane, and we'll kind of, bang into each other on purpose a little bit to make sure that when we get into the race, it's not the first time we've been hit when we're swimming. So you want to control that preparation part. But no, there's so many things you cannot control. You can't always control how you feel on race day. You can control how you act on race day. You can't control what other people say. You can't control what other people do, but you can control how you respond. And really what you can control is you can control your preparation, you can control your attitude, and you can control your effort. And I think the big win here for you, whether something happens, an injury, a cramp, a bike failure, and you're unable to cross the finish line of the Ironman, know that you are a champion for what you're doing for others. Know that you are a champion for what you're doing for the Smile Train. And that's really the big win. That's really the big win. And I'll tell you that when I crossed the finish line, getting emotional here, it was almost anticlimactic. You cross the finish line and you said, is that it? Is that all there is? That was just me. It's my own experience. I'm sure everyone has their own experience, maybe totally different for you. I crossed the finish line and I said, you know what? What was really important, what was really cool is what we were doing for others. And when you cross the finish line, it was almost saddening because it was over. So what have I done? My wife is now racing with a Smile Train. One of my team members, Jacob Armstrong, is going to race with a Smile Train. So I've helped them with their fundraising to make that happen. So once you cross the finish line, know there's going to be more times and more opportunities for you to give back and continue to please give back. But make sure you control what you can control. Attitude, effort, preparation, and know what you can't control. And when something shows up that you cannot control, don't get frustrated on the course. And I know what it's like when you swam 4,200 yards and biking 100 miles and all of a sudden your tire pops at 2 miles to go. You can get frustrated, but don't get frustrated. Get fascinated. And that takes us to our third tip, which is E plus R equals O and hashtag good. You see, E plus R equals O stands for event plus response equals outcome. And in life, you cannot control the events that happen, but you always get to control your response. And that response is going to help dictate the outcome. So you want to choose your response. Remember that your attitude you take is a decision that you make. Remember that your focus determines your future. And drive that focus into the present moment. The Ironman is not a 140-mile race. It is a 1-mile race 140 times. And ask yourself, who are you racing with? Or who are you racing against? Those are two different mindsets. Going into races thinking, I'm racing against everyone else or I'm racing against the clock is a different motivation than if you're out there, I'm racing for kids. I'm racing for Smile Train. I'm racing with Smile Train. It's a different approach. Make sure you go in there with your mind right. Hashtag good will help. I want you to go to YouTube. I want you to check out a video of a former Navy SEAL commander by the name of Jocko Willink. And Jocko talks about how on any mission that they would go on, when things would go bad and people would bring, his team members would bring issues to him, he would simply look at him and say, good. Because what's the alternative? You get a flat tire, good. You fall off the bike and get some scrapes, good. Get some cramps on the run, good. Better you than anybody else, right? Because you can handle it. You got the mindset to handle it. But know that your mindset is a lot more important than your skill set. And you've got to train that mindset. One of the ways to do it, Team Hoyt video. Another way to do it, Jocko, Jocko, good. Take a look. I know you're going to love it. Takes us to our fourth tip. When you're out there and we're thinking about this long race and how much more I have to endure, you've really got to work to keep your mind in the moment. Keep your mind in the moment. Present moment focus. Well, how do you do that? Well, it's simple. Imagine that you're in South Lake, Texas, which is where I live. And we were to drive all the way to Arizona for the Ironman. And as we're driving to Arizona, we leave at midnight from South Lake, which is right near Dallas. Are we able to drive across the country in complete darkness? Well, the answer is obviously yes. Yes, we can. But the only reason we're allowed to drive across the country in darkness is not because of our GPS. It's because of our headlights. And our headlights let us see the next 200 feet of the road. And that's all you have to do in the Ironman is just focus on the next 200 feet. The next stroke, one stroke at a time. The next pedal, one revolution at a time. The next part of your run, one step at a time. And break the bike down. A great way to think about the race is break it into 15-mile segments, which we'll talk more about in Know Your Numbers. 15-mile segments, there's an aid station. Every mile on the run, there's an aid station. Break it up aid station to aid station. Break it down to the next 200 feet. And where you get to that point where you're suffering, good. We like to suffer. We like to see what we can endure. We like to see how much we can take and keep moving forward. But all you have to do is move forward the next 200 feet. And when you move forward the next 200 feet, and then the next 200 feet, and then the next 200 feet, eventually you'll get to where you want to be. And also remember, tip number 5, talk to yourself, don't listen to yourself. You've probably heard the statement before, fake it till you make it, right? Well, there's actually a study done at Harvard by a woman named Amy Cuddy, and she says it's actually fake it until you find it. You fake the confidence or you fake the energy until you find it. And I'll tell you that at the start of the Ironman, I was probably 60% sure I wasn't going to make it. I had done the training, but anytime I tried to put together a swim, a bike, and a run, I mean, I would quit in the training session. You know, I was going to go, okay, I'm going to do a 100-mile bike and then a 15-mile run or a 13-mile run. I could never get there. I was probably under-fueled, and it was probably coupled with the heat of Texas in the summer, but I just couldn't do it. So before the race, I'm like, I'm not sure I'm going to make this thing. I was 60% sure I wasn't going to do it, but there was a 40% part of me that says, you know what? I got a coach, Tom Parker. He's done multiple Ironmans. He's coached 100 people to the finish line. I've done everything he's asked me to do. I'm going to finish. And the amazing thing about it was, you know, you're getting in the water and you're going, okay, let me use the mental game. Let me use these 10 tips that we're talking about and we're teaching each other here. And I just said, hey, man, mind in the moment, one stroke at a time, and just go. Just do your thing. Run your race. Race your race. You're not competing against anyone else. You're competing with yourself, and you're competing for the smile train. And you've already done the hardest task, which is signing up, because it's the start that stops most people. And now when you're in there, make sure you talk to yourself. Don't listen to yourself. So I just kind of went. No goal, had no goal in time. You know, I wasn't going to, I got to beat 16 hours or I got to beat 15 hours. I didn't have that. I thought I would be about 2 hours on the swim, 6 hours on the bike, and maybe another, 2 hours on the swim, 8 hours on the bike, 6 hours on the run. My goal was 16 hours, and I actually just finished under 12. And I don't say that to impress you. I say that simply to impress upon you the importance of keeping your mind in the moment. And how you keep your mind in the moment is you talk to yourself, you don't listen. So a couple key things. Self-talk. You know that voice inside your head? I mean, we all talk to ourselves all day. And if you're sitting there going, man, this guy is crazy, I do not talk to myself. What is he talking about? That's exactly the voice I'm referring to. So that voice that's inside your head that's talking to you all the time, you've got to make it predetermined of what you're going to do. So within this tip number 5, one of the things that I was doing on the race during the run, during the bike, is if I saw someone else in the Smile Train jersey, I would yell out. I would say, "Smile Train keeps rolling. Smile Train keeps rolling. Looking great. Smile Train." And guys would yell back at me, "Smile Train." Some people would look at you like you're crazy. Well, guess what? You're doing an Ironman. You are crazy, right? It is a beautiful thing, so embrace it. So when you speak to others and you get external, it's an energy cycle, and you get more positive energy. And the more energy you give, the more energy you have. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So can you give as much energy as you possibly can when you're on the course? And the thing that I loved about it was I was high-fiving people, telling people they look great. I didn't know who they were. But there was, 5,000 people maybe doing the Arizona Ironman. So there's always someone around you. And you can always choose to go internal and where you listen to yourself about how much you're going to hurt, because you're going to hurt. You're going to suffer. It's beautiful. But you can bypass all that and override all that by getting external and pouring yourself into others. Remember, you are the spark. You are the energy. You are the flame. You are the influencer. So every day between now and your Ironman, when you wake up, maybe you light a candle as kind of a candle lighting ceremony at your house. One of the top college football coaches in the country I work with does this. He says, "I light a candle every day I walk in the office. And the reason why I light that candle is I'm the spark for other people. I'm the one bringing the juice. I'm the one bringing the flame." And if you think about that on the course, bringing the juice, bringing energy, being someone built for others, which you are, or you never would have signed up for the Smile Train. Bring that to the course and talk to yourself. Don't listen. Don't listen to how you feel. Tell yourself you feel great. Let me share with you some self-talk that I thought was genius, that one of the Ironman triathletes that I coached in her first Ironman, these are the things she was saying. She's like, "I wanted to have fun with my self-talk." And she's a big Conor McGregor fan who's a UFC fighter. So as she was running, she's saying, she's saying this to herself now. She's saying, "They're going to build a mountain of me a monument of me on Ironman Mountain." She's saying, I am a goddess of Ironmans. Just things like that are totally off the wall and hilarious. But by her saying it, she started laughing to herself. And then she would say, "Hey, get to the next telephone pole." So you've got to make sure you go in with some predetermined self-talk and don't let yourself listen to how you feel. Talk to yourself. Get to the next telephone pole. Smile Train keeps rolling. Be an energy giver, not an energy sucker. Now, the sixth tip that we have here, which is another way to kind of keep your mind in the moment. A lot of these are techniques you can use to keep your mind in the moment, is to sing your song. Well, what does that mean, to sing your song? Well, singing your song is about going into the race with a song that you have already predetermined that you're going to listen to. So what I'm going to share for you here is I'm going to play a song. And this song here, this song is called Mammoth. I just heard it one day on Pandora. And as I was listening to the song, I kind of got in a rhythm. So you can't wear headphones in an Ironman run or a bike, but when you're training, you can. And I just listened to this song on repeat. I did it yesterday. I biked 100 miles yesterday. I listened to this song for about 50 of those miles. I ran 6 miles yesterday. I listened to the song for those 6 miles. Just one song on repeat. You can call me crazy. I am. I work in sports psychology and the mental game. But I also know that if I can listen to the song over and over again, every time I hear it, I can kind of put myself in that rhythm of what the song's like. You pick your song. And now I can tell you, when I was out on that course in Arizona, November 20th, 2016, I would just hear this when I was on the bike. And I would get my bike cadence to this song. I would hear this when I was on the run. And it was just a part of me. It was in my bones. It was in my DNA. It was my song. So I'm not thinking about anything other than this song, and I'm singing it to myself. I'm hearing it. I'm just singing the beat to myself. You've done this in your life before as an athlete. Let's do it now intentionally. This was the part that got me the most, right here. And I was just spinning to this. This was going on and on over in my head. Just that bass right there was the foot. And then I started running. I would just hear this song. I would put my head down and I would just go. When I was seeing people, I was giving energy, but I was singing my song as I was going. So you got to find a song that works for you. The one that works for me is called Mammoth. M-A-M-M-O-T-H. There's plenty you can listen to. There's an app you can use on your phone. It's called Rock My Run, and Rock My Run will actually give you like beats per minute of if you wanted to run 160 beats a minute, whatever it is, and you can kind of step off with the beats, however you want to do it. I don't know what the beats per minute were on that song. I just know that I was playing that in my head, and that was a way for me to stay external, to stay on something other than how I was feeling. Let's talk about our 7th tip here. Our 7th tip is know your ABCs. Now, when I'm working, let's say, with one of my NFL quarterback clients, going into a game, I would say, all right, Kirk, what are your ABCs? What are you going to be doing? What's the 3 things that you have to do to play well today? Or talking with a Major League Baseball player, I might say, hey, Jake, what are the 3 things you have to do going into the World Series? What are the 3 things you have to do? And the baseball player might say, I got to throw strike 1, I got to locate down in the zone, and I got to have big body language. The quarterback might say, make the right read, 1 play at a time, make sure I breathe between snaps. So what the ABCs are the ABCs are simple keys that you can say to yourself and remind yourself. You could write them on your body, write them on your bike, that are going to be reminders for you. So example of swimming ABCs would be, long and strong, count to 3, stay by the buoy. You might say, some of this might be technique that you come up with your coach, or it might be mental game reminders. For me, it's long and strong. Like I tend to cut my stroke short. So stay long out front, stay long all the way back, and trying to touch, my quad or my knee. So long and strong, pulling back with some strength. I count to 3. How do I keep my mind in the moment in the water? The water's my favorite part, one, because it's the shortest, but it's also the easiest one for me to stay in the mental game, because if I don't, I'm swallowing water. So I'm just counting 1, 2, 3, and I breathe. 1, 2, 3, and I breathe. And that's what I'm saying to myself the entire time. I'll pick up my head, and I try to stay right by the buoys. So for me, it's long and strong. 1, 2, 3, breathe, and I'm just looking up and staying in line with the buoys. For the bike, it's easy. For me, when I'm doing the bike, and this is going to kind of tie in with number 9 about knowing your numbers, but my ABCs for the bike, A is going to be, between 85 and 95 on my cadence. Like ideally, what I would do is I try to keep my cadence at 90, and if I were going, down a hill and I was pedaling too fast, I would get to 95, then I would shift and try to bring it to 90. If I were going up a hill and I started going slow and I got to 85, I would shift and try to bring it to 90. So the first cadence part was keep the cadence at 90. Second one was, relax your hands, relaxed arms. And then the third one was just make sure I hit my nutrition. So it would be 90, relax, nutrition would be my ABCs. Shorten them. 90, relax, hit your nutrition. And we'll talk about the nutrition piece and know your numbers. And then for the run, I tried to lock in my heart rate at 139, which was anywhere between probably like 9:30 and 10:30, depending on the terrain. But for me, the run ABCs were heart rate around 139, 140, aid station to aid station. And then again, we'll talk about knowing your numbers, my mindset for what I was going to do in each aid station. So I knew from a nutrition standpoint that I wanted to have in the even, right, E, in the even aid stations, I wanted to have a Gatorade. I'd have a Gatorade, and in the odd aid stations, I would have water, H2O. O is odd. Gatorade has an E at the end. So even stations, cup of Gatorade. Odd stations, I would have H2O. And then what I would do is I'd pretty much have a banana. They give like the half of banana at the. I would have those at the with the Gatorade and the banana. And then every hour I would just have a gel shot. So for me, that was kind of my nutrition plan. Gatorade and a banana and then water. But, I might take a bite of the banana. I might not have the banana. Some of that was based off of kind of how I felt in the stomach. So some of that's knowing your numbers. That's going to be number 9. But you got to know your ABCs. So on your handout here, what I want you to do is, pause this webinar as you're going through it here, or come back to it, watch it again, and write down some of the key things that we're saying here on the lines here. Write down what your ABCs might be. And if you're interested in me helping you with this, by all means, contact us through briancain.com. When you go to briancain.com/smiletrain to get your free copy of the book as well as the video, you can contact us there. And my team, Jacob and I, Jacob's doing his first Ironman in Arizona or in Texas coming up here, we would absolutely love to help you out with creating some of these things yourself. So number 8, our 8 tip, confidence is a choice. See, this is probably the number one thing I hear from athletes in any sport, not just Ironman or triathlon training, but any sport, and even other corporate clients that I have say the same thing, is it's all about confidence. And they're like, man, can you help me? I'm not confident. Or they ask, how do I stay confident all the time? Well, the first thing you have to understand is confidence is a choice. So choose to be confident when you're going to the starting line. Second thing to understand is confidence is a state. Confidence is not something you get. Confidence is not just something you feel. Confidence is something you do. Well, let's talk about how you do confidence. Well, if you look at your handout here, when you hear confidence, I want you to think BFS. What's BFS? Body language, focus, self-talk. This kind of ties in some of the other tips that we've been talking about. So with your confidence, have your body language be big. I mean, you want to be walking around. When you watch Michael Phelps before he jumps in the pool in the Olympics, he's standing like he's 10 feet tall and bulletproof. Missy Franklin, same thing. So when you're walking in that corral to jump in the water, and if it's your first Ironman, you're going to have the butterflies, but get them to fly in formation. And how you do it is you're relaxed, right? You're shaking out your arms, you're bouncing a little bit, but your body language is big, right? So notice the difference. This is big. This is small. Don't allow yourself to get here. Stay here. Stay big with your body language. Big body language. Your focus on the moment, on your ABCs. Your self-talk, it could be get to the next pole. Your self-talk could be your ABCs. Your self-talk could be they're going to make a monument of you on Ironman Mountain. I thought that was phenomenal. I'm going to use that one. But just making sure you're talking to yourself positive, one stroke at a time. You got this. Relax, breathe. This is your race. You don't feel good. Good. You love it. Adversity is your advantage. You love this. I must have said that 1,000 times. You love this. You signed up for this. This is the greatest day of your life. Embrace it. Not thinking about the finish, just pulling it back to the moment. Win this moment. Get up this hill. Get to that outhouse. Get here. Get there. Whatever it is for you, you're breaking it down. So know your body language is big. I see people running on the course. They're running, and they're running like down here, just suffering, Well, when you're suffering, that's when you want to get big. So get big with your body language, drive your focus in the moment, and have that positive self-talk. Because confidence is a choice. And it's not something you get, it's something you do. Now, number 9, knowing your numbers. Let's talk about knowing your numbers. And this could be many ways, in many places. Knowing your numbers could be, what are your numbers if you're doing a carbo load? Is it 750 2 days before the race, 850 carbs a day before the race, finishing at 6 p.m.? Knowing your numbers could be what your time is for the overall race, or your run, bike, swim splits. Your time, knowing your numbers could be, for me, it was the carb load piece going into the race. It was, again, I didn't really have a time. I mean, I was thinking 2 hours in the swim, 8 on the bike, and 6 on the run, and it was way earlier than that. So my time was off, but I wasn't focused on the time. I was focused on the experience. And I would suggest that to anyone doing an Ironman for the first time who's not trying to be competitive and get a time. If you are, hey, man, go get it. And there's another call that we could do for that in terms of the strategy and things like that. But a lot of these principles are going to apply whether you're out there like I am as a recreational person looking to have a great experience, or you're out there trying to set a world record. A lot of these would apply and be the same. So knowing your numbers for me was, for example, nutrition on the bike. I had a water bottle, a Camelback water bottle on my bike, and I filled it with Gatorade, and I had a Cliff Bar and a gel shot and a salt tube in the pocket, Cliff Bar in the bag on the bike, gel shot taped to the bike. You just like electrical tape it to the bike. You rip it off. You don't have to worry about pulling off the tab, and you smash it. So this was my technique for the bike. Every 5 miles, I would have a third of the Gatorade, a third of the Cliff Bar. That was it. At the 10-mile mark, third of the Gatorade, third of the Cliff Bar. 15-mile mark, third of the Gatorade, third of the Cliff Bar. Now those two are empty. Hit the gel shot, take a lick of the salt tab. There's an aid station every 15 miles. Grab a Cliff Bar, refuel on Gatorade, go. Mile 20, third of the bottle of Gatorade, third of the Cliff Bar. Mile 25, third of the Gatorade, third of the Cliff Bar. Mile 30, third of the Gatorade empty, third of the Cliff Bar gone, gel shot, salt lick, refuel with another gel shot in the pocket. I'm sorry. The gel shots were taped to the bike. The Cliff Bar would go in the piece on your bike, the little pocket I had on my bike or in your pocket on your jacket or your shirt you're wearing, and then I would refuel the Gatorade. That worked great for me. I actually did the Ironman and finished, and I think I was in like 1.5 pounds of what I started it with. So having your numbers of what you're going to eat on the bike, and then I already talked about my run of Gatorade in the even stations, maybe a banana, and then water in the odd aid stations, and I would have a gel shot every hour. So those were knowing my numbers. Going into Texas, I'm going to put a little bit of time numbers. I want to get off the bike under 6. I want to get out of the water under 1:15, and I want to get done with the run in about 4.5. So if I'm able to do that, that's going to be just under 12 again, which would be exciting for me. But that's if I don't make it or I do make it, I'm going to be in the same emotional state. I'm not attached to the outcome whatsoever. I'm really looking forward to the experience. I'm actually more excited to see how Jacob is going to do than I am about myself. That's the mindset I like to get into, of just pumping it into other people, just seeing how they're going to do. So know your numbers going in, especially the nutrition piece. If you're not working with a nutrition coach, I would highly suggest either contacting us or finding someone who can give you a game plan for what to eat so that you don't bonk. One of the guys I did the race with who went in, thought he had a nutrition plan, never ran it by anybody, said he had it, said anytime I asked him, said he was good. I wasn't going to push him to see what he was going to do, and he bonked and almost didn't make it. So a lot of that is knowing your numbers on the nutrition. And then, my friends, pillar number 10. Or should I say a pillar? I wrote a book called The 12 Pillars of Peak Performance that I'm going to give you when you go to briancain.com/smileman. This is the one take. It's a one-take webinar, right? So I don't get to correct that. When you go to briancain.com/smiletrain, I'm going to give you the 12 Pillars of Peak Performance book. But let's talk about tip number 10. Everything happens twice. First in your mind, then in reality. So you got to see all these things happening. See yourself going to your why when you're on the course and using that for motivation. See yourself staying with the things that you can control, letting go of the things that you can't. See adversity happening and you getting fascinated, not frustrated, and using that adversity to your advantage. See yourself on the course just locking in on that next 200 feet. Just get to that next pole. Get to that next pole. Joe DeCina, who created all the Spartan races, talks about when he was doing his ultra endurance races that he would just focus on getting to the next pole. Great idea. Same strategy we're sharing with you here. Visualize yourself. What are you going to say to yourself on the course? Singing that song to yourself out there, just kind of seeing yourself running, singing that song, or at least playing it in your head. So get that song that you want to go to, get that on your iPod or iPhone, whatever it is you're using, and put it on repeat on your next training sessions. Know your ABCs going in. Maybe write them on your bike, write them on a wristband or something on your shoe, and then know your numbers. Know your confidence is a choice. Have those big ABCs. Right? Act big, breathe big, commit big. Act big with the body language. Breathe big and commit big to your plan. Commit big to you going out there and staying in the moment. Know that confidence is a byproduct of your BFS, your body language, your focus, and your self-talk. And everything happens twice. Visualize yourself not just crossing the finish line of the Ironman. Visualize yourself going through the battle, overcoming the adversity, getting a cramp, working it out, moving on, powering through it, hitting all your fueling stations, in and out of transition areas, the nervous energy that you're going to have at the start of the race, especially your first one, not knowing totally what to expect. You're going to have it at every race, but it's going to be more the first time. See yourself experiencing that the way you want to. Don't just visualize the positive. Yay, I finished an Ironman. Visualize the grind. Visualize the battle. It will be easier for you to get to that crossing the finish line. Also, when times get hard and it gets dark on the course, as it will, I want you to visualize all the lives that you're changing as a part of this great organization. I want you to visualize and think about the impact that you are having in the lives of people that you may never and probably will never meet. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of the Smile Train. And your number 11 tip, dominate the day. Know that this is a day-to-day grind. Know that life is a precious thing, and to dominate the day is to truly get the most out of every day. Doesn't mean you're going to win every day, but you just give that effort. You give that effort to work and to become the best you can be and give service to other people, just like you're doing with this Ironman. What I love about the event of the Ironman with a Smile Train is not only are you becoming your best self going through this race, but you are serving others. And when you take those two things and you put them together, serving others and you becoming more and you being the best you can be, I think that's the ultimate win. It's what I love about the Ironman. It's what I really, really love about the Smile Train. If there's anything that I can do or my team can do to help you get your mind right and the mindset for the Ironman, if there's ever anything we can do, please do not hesitate to reach out. It's a tight community, the Smile Train and the Ironman, and I would love to be a part of that with you. I'm going to be doing Ironman Texas, doing halves in Boulder, Lake Placid, Coeur d'Alene. I'm missing another couple other ones this year. If you're at any of those events, love to see it. If you go to briancain.com/calendar, you can see some of the places I'm going to be around the country, usually with college athletic teams. But it will say if it's an Ironman event, you'll see the city, and I would love to come and meet you. So thanks again for what you're doing. Please head over to briancain.com/smiletrain to get your free audiobook and check out the video of my Ironman experience with Smile Train. Thanks again for all you're doing. Hope you got something out of this Ironman or out of this webinar. What's the one tip that you're going to take and use and you're going to implement? Thanks again for checking this out. Dominate your day.